All right, now joining us, the man in the black robe, I believe from his home in Las Vegas, Nevada, because, like, where else would he be right now? Former UFC light heavyweight champion, UFC Hall of Famer, and a guy who goes even further back with KenFlo than I do. The great Forrest Griffin is with us. Good day, my man.
It's great to see you guys. I see you're adjusting. Kenny, how are you doing up in Boston, man?
I'm actually in LA, which is I've been in LA for a little while now, so it's been crazy over here, man. We've actually gotten it pretty bad, so we've been on lockdown for a little while, and the streets are empty. There's no traffic in Los Angeles. It's kind of creepy, man.
First time ever.
Your first time ever is right.
Only time ever, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you. You know, I feel like you're a jinx for me. The last 2 times I've consumed alcohol in excess, you have been. This is like over the course of 3 or 4 years. It might be like, going back to the Ultimate Fighter, where the women, I think it was like, Pettis and what. That's So every time, you must think I'm a raging alcoholic. I'm just thinking about you that makes me drink to excess.
I think it's clear. It's clear I bring out the worst in people. I think that's what it comes down to. I have that effect.
Yeah, you and Steph. Those are the people, right?
Oh, man.
I can see Bonner making you want to consume great amounts of alcohol. KenFlo's just a nice guy,
Yeah, no, it was, I'm still bitter about that little tough dinner thing, too. I feel like it was ruined for me at the start, I was like, oh, this could be cool. This could be fun. I get there, I'm like, oh, man, same people that were assholes back then. Still assholes.
Still assholes.
Changed, right? Like,
so that was the recent reunion, right? When was that?
It was probably over a year ago now.
Okay. Yeah.
It was interesting. It was interesting. Yeah. It was cool. It was cool to see you, though, man. It was good to hang out and reconnect. It was cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, for the brief period of time I was still functioning as a being. Yeah.
So
bad night. My Uber driver texted me the next morning, "You all right, bro?" I was like, "Yeah, man. Sorry. Did I tip you?" Oh.
See, you got to not be Forrest Griffin in the Uber, right? See, Daniel Cormier switches it up, right? You got to be like Frank Griffin. So then
okay.
No,
it's all good. Yeah.
So you tweeted a few days ago, might be a couple weeks ago, things the coronavirus has made me realize. I've never washed my thumbs. You've never washed your thumbs, like never, which I can agree with that. Being a teacher is really hard. My house is really small, and my wife and I together are smart enough to be a second grade teacher.
It's absolutely true. I felt like a Rain Man. I was like, I know this basic geometry. I'm a genius. Obtuse. I don't even have to look that up. I know that. I felt great about myself until she got to like, what was it? When you say like he or she, I don't know. I've already forgotten what it was. Like a past possessive pronoun or something.
Right.
Babe, over there. I don't know what this is.
Right.
I'm going to teach my daughter rock.
Nothing easy about it. So the UFCPI obviously is closed down for all intents and purposes. And I got to believe, I don't think anyone overall has done more workouts within those walls than you. I feel like you had probably worked out there hundreds of times before a lot of these fighters made it their training home. So how has that separation been for you? I know you're getting it in at home, but for you, this can't be easy.
It's been rough. And, I'm regretting not taking a weight vest and some power blocks. Like, I should have just taken some stuff. Like, nobody needs it there.
No one's using it. Yeah.
It's just getting cleaned repeatedly there. It's like I should have taken that stuff. I'm actually having a friend go in because they have to get some equipment for local fighters to drop off their houses.
Oh, wow.
And, I'm going to have them pick me up like a weight vest and maybe some extra little dumbbells and stuff. And then I'm going to buy some more dumbbells at the Target, like, where you drive up and they put the stuff in your groceries in your car.
Oh, man. So what is Forrest doing to pass the time? Is it just workouts all day? What are you doing?
No. So we have a ton. You remember the first journal that came out, right?
Yeah.
So we have a second journal, year 3 journal. And, we have an academy class in China, right? So they're taking a lot of the learnings from that academy class and the load management and the structure of that camp and the skill acquisition portions of it. and we're trying to turn it into part of a Journal 3, right? So, like,
oh wow,
kind of what I want, and I want these geniuses around me to figure is I want a template, and then I want Kenny Florian to be able to evaluate Kenny Florian and say, I have this, my jitsu's good, my wrestling's okay, my striking's pretty good. These are the aspects I want to work on. These are how I can structure my practices to get the most out of it. These are how many times I have to work a new skill to develop that skill. These are how many times I have to work a skill I already have to maintain that skill, right? So it's hard because you have so many different disciplines in MMA, right? You have to keep the sharp knives you have, while at the same time you have to build new weapons and sharpen them, right? So how do you do that? A great example, you remember Alex Schoenhauer on the show, decent striker, got knocked out by Swick. He spent 6 months working on his wrestling and jiu-jitsu because he was really weak at that. He didn't really worry too much about the striking because I was like, all right, I'm substantially better than that. And then when he got out there, he immediately got knocked out because he didn't, one, game plan for his opponent, who was a striker with quick hands. And then two, he kind of let that skill get sloppy, get dull because he was working so much. He was working so hard. I felt bad because he'd been doing so much wrestling and grappling, and then he gets knocked out in like the first round. You're like, oh yeah, we didn't do a ton of striking.
People talk about wrestling maintenance just being a brutal part of the sport, right? The truly high-level guys trying to maintain that skill.
And maybe you guys can attest to this. I've seen a lot of great wrestlers, and they don't wrestle that much in MMA practices. They wrestle just enough to maintain it, but they're not looking. They're not looking to go back to college. Get that 2-hour grind in 3 times a week. They're not looking for that. They're like, I got my hour in. We're gonna drill a little bit. Call it a day.
So anyone who has seen you work out, even now on the Stairmaster, I mean, Cardio King, the way you'd attack a weight cut in your career, we never had to worry about you. But what would your thoughts be on?
But
yeah. Well, but what would your thoughts be on trying to make weight, never mind compete, given this coronavirus backdrop without able bodies potentially to work with? What do you feel like the athletes are going through right now?
So the weight it's really about, that's controllable, right? It's hard in the setting because your routine's broken, but you can set a routine like I've done. I work out every day at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I start work, or, sometimes 8, right? So I'm still on routine. Like for the weight, you don't really have an excuse. That's what you're putting in your body. You can alter it and tailor it because it's hard to get fresh foods right now, but it's the actual skill where you might work with 3, 4, 5 people. Right now, guys are working with 1 or 2 safe buddies, right? So you got a group of 3, and it's like, these are as many people as you really should feel comfortable being around. So I feel like it's the skill maintenance portion of it that's more, hard at this point. One thing I'll say, Tony Ferguson his training is so unorthodox all the time that I don't know that the quarantine has affected him.
Yeah. Right.
He doesn't even know there's a quarantine, man. Yeah. He's like, he's got his guy coming over to hold mitts. He's kicking steel pot. He's,
double legging cars going down the road. Tony, you might not want to. Okay, that's fine. No, you did it. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Hey, just don't let the driver breathe on you, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, have you watched this Tiger King documentary on Netflix?
Man, I have not. Okay. I'm pretty good at not following the. I'm familiar with it. I get it. I'm just pretty good at not following whatever. I'm just a contrarian. Kenny can attest that. I just whatever it is that like cool people are doing, I can't do it. I'm interested, but I'm like, man, I'd rather watch crappy sci-fi or just watch fights.
I agree, actually, on both of those. I'm way behind. If people ask me, have you seen this movie or Netflix show? It's usually no. One of our producers actually gave us homework to watch Tiger King before the show today. Yeah. I've been deeply disturbed thus far, but I think you'd find some value in it. It's actually nonfiction somehow.
Yeah. I like fiction, man. So the only time I watch TV, right, is 90 minutes before bed. So I watch about an hour of TV a day. Well, outside of like work TV, fighting and fight stuff.
Sure.
I count that as work, not as screen time.
Yeah, we do too. Yeah. Not screen time.
Not screen time. It's not screen time. Alex, I'm doing work. You're watching fight. I'm doing work, Alex. But So, I don't want reality. I want like some nonsense from another planet that's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, and my wife, I have to like, we alternate nights of TV. So then I have to watch shows like A Million Little Things and This Is Us. And I have to watch shows like that. And, the crappy sci-fi or whatever, weird serial killer show that I've found.
Right.
Oh, here's a Swedish Norwegian serial killer show. This is gonna be great, babe. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You gave me a good idea though. You switch off nights, and then she would have no choice but to watch the garbage that I'd want to watch. So in terms of all these fights, right? Like, and I don't know if you're the biggest football fan in the world growing up in Georgia. I mean, were you a Falcons fan? Or?
Huge. The Dirty Birds. Come on.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I was too legit to quit.
Right. All right. So.
I did throw him, but yeah.
So I have said that I feel like this Khabib Nurmagomedov-Tony Ferguson fight is perhaps the biggest singular fight in UFC history because of where this division is and where these two athletes are. So for me, it feels like a Super Bowl, if not bigger. I feel like it's the most anticipated fight competitively, divisionally of my lifetime. And now it doesn't look like Take 5 is going to happen. And can you fucking believe it?
Even more than that, it's that we've been promised this fight for so long. Like I saw the stats this morning on, Israel Adesanya, the champ, was 2 years away from even fighting in the UFC the first time they were lined up. Like Ronda Rousey was still champion the first time they were lined up. Verdun was champion first time they were lined up to fight. It showed all these crazy stats, and I was like, oh my gosh, like Poirier was at 145 or something. It's like insane. Like, geez, wow. It is just. Wow. I mean, and at this point, it's like its own story of the curse, It's really like, we'll find a way. You're both healthy, global pandemic. It's really crazy, right? Like,
I think next time we set it up for the 11th time, whenever we do, we can't have them sign the contract until like they're about to walk out to the octagon. That's the only way. And even then, there's probably something will happen.
Somebody at work, when we watched some of the press conference, back when the world was still going, said, just have them fight now. Like, let's just cancel this main event. Just make that the main event. Give them like a 10-pound weight allowance. And guys, don't worry about the cuts. Don't worry about that. Just fight this weekend. We got you both. Let's do it.
Well, one big variable that they're up against here is Ramadan. I mean, there are athletes like Bilal Muhammad that are more than willing to train and compete through it. And obviously he's not an undisputed champion, so maybe he can't call every shot. But April 23rd, I think, is the date for Khabib. So there wasn't really, people say, oh, push the fight back to May 15th. That wasn't really going to be an option for Khabib. So if you're Justin Gaethje, go ahead.
I didn't factor that in. That's a great catch. Yeah, because Ramadan's tough one because it moves.
Right.
It's always different. So I'm always confused. Like, Ramadan's in September.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So in terms of Justin Gaethje, reports are that he was in the gym. I mean, you got to think that he was the guy if either one of these fighters pulled out. I mean, do you think he was training for that date? But do you think he was training for that date?
No, doubtful. And I read a thing about he doesn't usually take fights on short notice, but if you want to be champ, sometimes you got to take a fight on short notice, Right. Everybody, we've all taken fights on short notice. It is what it is. Poirier's talking about taking a fight. I'm like, didn't you just have like surgery? Like,
right.
I'm not saying like I'm not, like you don't have like surgery. Are you like post-op? Are you like just cleared to train MMA now? Like, what are you doing? Like,
well, I think
I don't care. I'll fight.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these guys feel like it's good business to throw their name in the hat, especially
the Gilbert Burns kind of scenario. You got to fight, I'll fight. It was Cowboys started it, and then guys like Gilbert and Vince Luque, they've been like, okay, whatever. If I just train, and that's another thing about training load. If I just train consistently, like a normal human being, with progressive overload, I can train a lot, stay in good shape, keep my weight relatively close, and I can stay 3 weeks out from a fight and then just put that last little taper and cut in without destroying myself for a camp. So sometimes, personally, I fought better when I didn't have much of a training camp because I couldn't destroy myself as much.
Right.
They're like, okay, well, I just got to concentrate on making this weight and getting a little bit of conditioning. I can't, you can't overthink it. But
So KenFlo's Jiu-Jitsu school in Los Angeles is closed indefinitely. I mean, have you thought about what it's going to be like walking back into that UFC PI? I mean, are you giving the now father of two, James Kimball, like a big hug, or is he getting an elbow now? I mean, we're walking back into a whole new world.
No, he's getting a nod. What's up? Good to see you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, man. Yep.
You know, I've always been a nodder anyway. You know, that's the thing. I'm known, like, with my wife's friends as an awkward hugger because it's not really the thing. I don't like to hug women. I don't like to hug people in general. If there's a hug involved, me, it's usually another guy and something amazing, like a life-altering moment has occurred. Like we won a championship, or like we won at beer pong or something. That's when I'll hug another human being. It's not, or my daughter and my wife. But I'm not like a big hugger. So I don't really. I was anti-shaking hands going through my fight career. People thought I was a jerk. I was just always a little bit overtrained, so my immune system was a little bit depressed, and I always found I would get sick. Every time I did an appearance, I'd shake 1,000 hands.
Wow.
And then next thing you know, I'm sick. That's shocking, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody should have taught me how to wash my thumbs is what happened.
I know.
I didn't know how to wash my thumbs.
That's the truth.
That's why I kept getting sick.
So I was in the back of a car with Forrest in 2015 and telling him he needs to start the Forrest Griffin show. And here we are 5 years later, and you're making the rounds a little bit, obviously, this week, and you've got some downtime. But, I mean, can we get a Forrest Griffin show originating from the UFC PI? We're just looking for an hour a week.
I don't think so. No, I mean, you guys are doing pretty good at it. You know?
Yeah, thanks.
I'm very fortunate in that I have a job, and I want to play as much of a role in that as I can. And I've turned down a lot of cool opportunities. Things I would have liked to done. But I remember, and ironically, this was before I fought Anderson. This is like 6 or 7 weeks out. Going to it was like somebody huge at the time, their album release party, this or that. People want to take you out to dinner, and I was like, nope, can't do it. And that's kind of like, for me, that's how I have to be in life, because I'm not a Tyron Woodley where I can, all right, hey, look, I only train 18 to 20 hours a week. What I do with the other, whether I'm watching Netflix or I'm at a party, mingling with high octane people, whatever, right. That's the choice you make. Whereas me, I was like, all right, I got to pull back. I got to just concentrate and be kind of monastic about this goal. And that's how I feel about the PI to an extent. Like if I want to be in the UFC and I want to do big things on this side of the, of the sideline, I have to kind of dedicate that to myself. And I like getting on TV every now and again. It's fun. I had the Metro PCS show. I love that.
That's right. Purple Couch.
Great. That was great. Just to keep yourself in front of the camera a little bit. I'm sure you guys understand. You don't understand because you're both in front of the camera all the time. But it is, as they say, a perishable skill, right? If you are not kind of getting in front of you get in front of your. What was I supposed to say?
Of course, yeah.
It's so like you guys will probably be like a little on the wrong foot.
Rusty. Yeah, we're gonna have to shake that shit off. Yes.
Ever, yeah.
No doubt. It will be the most time I haven't talked professionally in 15, 20 years. You're absolutely right.
Wow. What if you guys aren't even there when they fight? Like if they're able to put it together, do it in the Apex, and you're just like in some studio down the street, able to commentate the fight. That would be cool.
So when I was at ESPN, the WBC heavyweight championship fight between Vitaly Klitschko and Shannon Briggs was happening in Germany, and I was in Bristol, Connecticut with BJ Flores calling that fight in front of a green screen. So it absolutely can be done.
That's awesome. What time was that? That was like a weird time?
Yeah, it was a weird time for us, and I'm sure prime time for them, and then it aired tape delayed on ESPN. Hey, before we let you go, and it sort of dovetails with the UFC PI stuff. So this July, God willing, the first annual Forrest Griffin Community Service Award is going to be handed out courtesy of Toyo Tires. And this is a big deal. If I had told 18-year-old Forrest Griffin that he would become a beacon of the Las Vegas community, and you have become that, you probably would have laughed in my face. This has to be pretty exciting to have this type of service award in your honor, in your name.
Well, I'd be like, Las Vegas. how did I end up in Las Vegas? I made bad choices to end up in Las Vegas.
I know.
This is home. This is where I met my wife. For me, this is, this is probably where I'll spend the rest of my life. That's crazy to think, right? I love this place. So anything I can do locally, and you got to think, when I was first hired at the UFC, it was community outreach. That's what I was going to do. And what kind of happened is I got involved with some stuff when I was fighting. I had a little bit of, clout, name recognition. I was able to throw it behind some people. I was able to tithe a little bit and make some donations. And then right after that, I was on these boards, and then I removed myself from a couple of the boards. I'm still on the 3 Square board, but I removed myself from a couple of the boards, but people still would reach out. So I became kind of like a matchmaker, right? Like, all right, I got a guy. And then, our buddy Alex Karalexis got in the service business, right? And I was able to help him with Home for Heroes, Jared Allen's Home for Heroes. So, just any fighter that has like a good cause or something, I'm able to help them and get the UFC to magnify that a little bit. And that is pretty awesome, man. It really is.
You've made quite the imprint. You really have. And I don't want to bring up the Falcons on the way out, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask in terms of the hugging, right? I mean, the Falcons are up 28-3 in a Super Bowl. I mean, are you hugging yet, or are you waiting for them to close the show?
So, that is the funniest story. We'll end on this. I was at a party. I hosted a party because I knew it. So I hosted a Super Bowl party. My wife wasn't feeling good, so I go home to take care of our daughter at halftime. My mom starts texting me, and my mom doesn't text. Like, what's going on? Like, why is the ball like confused with the rules? Like, what's going on? And I thought, like, I drove 40 minutes. I get home, and I thought they'd won the Super Bowl. And people are like, no, it's still on. Turn it on. I turn it on, and they're like, they lose. And I was just, I don't even like sport. It's so weird, right? The power of sports. I don't even know those people. I haven't lived there for 12 years, 13 years. And here I am, like, my day was ruined.
Oh, yeah.
I was just angry. So angry that it blew it, I was like mad at people I don't know. Like, why am I mad at these football players? Like, do I think that they didn't want to win? Like, they wanted to win that game, all right? They didn't blow it on purpose.
They feel a lot worse than you do.
Yeah. I'm mad at them.
All right. Well, the Hall of Famer in every sense of Hall of Famer, Forrest Griffin. Appreciate your time, man. Don't be a stranger. When we did our 100th episode, you may recall, you were our featured guest that day because it was a big show for us. I can't believe it's taken this long to have you back on, but we appreciate the time. I know KenFlo loves having you back at least.
You're the man, Forrest.
All right, guys. Love you guys. Take care, man. Stay safe. Peace.
There he is, Forrest Griffin. Always good to catch up with the Ultimate Fighter, one veteran.